Let me identify one fundamental problem here, and that is the fact that we have one governor in the state of Texas who is refusing to cooperate with other governors and other local officials and coordinate efforts to address a challenge that our country, which this country should stand united to address, that our country is facing.
That is Alejandro Mayorkas, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, who should have been impeached already. He should probably be in handcuffs now. They should grab him at the airport and put leg shackles on him. You know, like they do to Trump administration officials, because the left is here. I mentioned a little while ago that our national debt topped $34 trillion now. $34 trillion, our national debt. And it actually happened on December 29th, but they kept it a secret for a little while because they're crooked. And there are crooked people everywhere inside of our government and our media, of course. I'm telling you. The national debt, now, this is something I like to use as a metric for, to help people understand the national debt. Even the Republicans aren't talking about doing anything about it, and we should fire everybody, and somebody is stealing our money, and maybe there should be laws about these things. In a nation of laws, it would be good. And, of course, we'd have to enforce the laws, which we don't do a lot of because of what, Michael? Because of Democrats is the correct answer. But if I owed you $1 million and I had a pile of $1 bills in a room, I could peel off $1 bill to you every second. And I would have peeled off $1 million to you in about 11 and a half days. That is to say, 1 million seconds is about 11 and a half days. With our national debt now topping $34 trillion, if we started paying down our national debt at $1 a second, and we're not doing that, we're adding to our national debt with each passing second. If we started paying down our national debt at $1 a second, it would take us 1,078,106 years. Jesus Christ walked the earth 2,000 years ago, so add 998,000 years to that. And that's how long it would take us to pay off our national debt if we were paying off our national debt, which we are not. We continue to add to our national debt instead. And we have 535 people in Congress. We're shy a couple right now. A president, a cabinet, and a news media that could care less about what is impending economic doom. It's really just a matter of time. That's right. It would take us 1,078,000 years plus 106 years to pay off our national debt at $1 a second. I could peel off $1 million to you at $1 a second in 11 and a half days. That is our reckless, treacherous, greedy, selfish, corrupt government in action. Those are extraordinary numbers. The news media will pay no attention to it at all. Why? Why, Michael? Oh, yeah, because they're corrupt. Now, let me get to some other stuff here. And I still want to get to that media stuff on Harvard. And then I want to get to the border, because that was Mayorkas attacking Governor Greg Abbott of Texas and blaming him for the border crisis, which is criminal, and Mayorkas should be in leg shackles. Honestly. Jake Tapper is a big fake, and they pay him to be a journalist at CNN, but he's not. He's a Democrat. He's a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, of course, and he worked for the woman in the House of Representatives, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, whose son married Chelsea Clinton. Because it's all a circle fest in a hot tub, isn't it? Yes, it is. And our media is the most corrupt institution in America, isn't it? Yes, it is. worse than the permanent bureaucracy? Yeah, perhaps, yeah. Because if we had a legitimate news media holding feet to the fire, holding government accountable, we'd be living in a very different country. But instead, we've got them giving tongue baths to every Democrat that slithers by them. And here's Jake Tapper with that introduction. Speaking to a Harvard professor. Wonder if she makes $900,000 also. Allison Frank Johnson. She has 3 names.
I've seen a lot of prominent African-American voices on social media in the last hour or so.
Race.
Including Mr. Kendi, Nicole
Mr.
Hannah-Jones,
Kendi.
others, talking about the racist, we shouldn't just call it racial, racist animus against her. I don't think it's fair to say all of her critics were racist, but certainly
sure it is.
A few of them were.
All of them.
And I'm wondering how much you think that had to do with what happened today.
Well, clearly, the way you phrased the question, Jake, was so succinct and enlightened and just wonderful. It's not just racial, it's racist. Forget about that whole Jew thing. Jake's Jewish, allegedly. Jake went to Dartmouth, allegedly. Just extraordinary. It's not just racial, it's racist. See, that puts him on the side of the angels with the radical left. That would include Claudine Gay, and who isn't? What? And on and on. So here is the Harvard professor, Allison Frank Johnson. Well, Jake, this is a minefield for me because you just said it's racist, and so I've got to goose step along with the Jew-hating lefties like Claudine Gay and the self-loathing Jew, Jake Tapper.
I can't even imagine what she's had to face. There are people who have come
So
straight
horrible.
out and said that they believe that Claudine Gay, before the plagiarism
There are
allegations
people
even came out, that they believe Claudine Gay was only appointed because she's black, because she's a woman, but especially because she's black.
And that makes them racist? Now, did she have the credentials that would normally be expected of a Harvard University president, even of a PhD from Harvard? Has her academic work been reviewed by panels, as is normally the case, to determine whether there were? Now, yesterday I was with friends yesterday, and a young woman took the resignation letter, such as it is. She's just resigning as president and still make nearly $1 million a year teaching race at Harvard. But took her resignation letter. A friend of mine took her resignation letter, pumped it into a program on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, and this program checks your writing for spelling errors, for grammatical errors, and this program checks your writing for plagiarism. And Claudine Gay's resignation letter as president of Harvard was red flagged on all 3 by the internet program that looks for spelling errors, grammatical errors, and for plagiarism. It immediately compares what you've written to the universe of everything else that has been written. And it was red flagged for grammatical errors, for spelling errors, and for plagiarism. Her resignation letter, which is pretty funny, I've got to say. And Jake Tapper, Mr. Kendi, who is, they love racial division. The Democrat Party, the party of the Confederate States of America, they love racial division. It's pretty extraordinary stuff, I've got to say. Yeah, and Ibram X. Kendi, who's a hero of the left because he loves racial division. And other woke activists rage over Claudine Gay resigning as Harvard president. Racist mobs, they say. Racist mobs came for her. Now, let's compare Claudine Gay's resume and her academic accomplishments to the resume and the academic accomplishments of previous Harvard presidents. Shall we? We don't really want to spend all our time doing that, but and I can assure you the New York Times is busy not doing that even as we speak. CNN is making sure no one brings that up, or they will call you a racist. And then they'll send a check to Planned Parenthood to exterminate 40% of the black population. These guys, and Al Sharpton is all over it too. It's an attack on every black woman, says the Reverend Al Sharpton Sure it is. You bet. Because he's a black leader. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. Where's Tawana Brawley? Is this an attack on Tawana Brawley? Another attack on Tawana Brawley? We must not allow this to stand, gentlemen. We've got to hold on to our phony baloney jobs. And the Associated Press suggested that white colonists, you see, are responsible for this. Absolutely crazy. They're out of their minds. They really are. Democrats. What's the matter with them, Michael? Do you know? It's awful. It is awful. Crazy. All right, now let's take a phone call. I haven't gone to a phone call in quite a while. I want to switch and talk about the border, our southern border, where in the month of December, last month, we shattered all records for the number of illegal aliens crossing our border. And the Democrats are good with that because they are not on our side. Also, for the fourth fiscal quarter of 2023, October, November, December, we shattered all records for the quarter. We shattered all records for the month. I told you about the illegal alien from Venezuela arrested at the Capitol with a machete and a giant butcher knife. Illegal alien from Venezuela who was arrested in 2022 and released back into our population by Customs and Border Protection because of Joe Biden and the Democrats. 2023, arrested and charged with carrying dangerous weapon, possession of prohibited weapon. And now in 2024, they say the illegal alien from Venezuela will be removed from the United States, and then he can turn around and walk right back in because of the Democrats, right? That's your Democrat Party thing. But what do we have the month of December? 302,000 illegal aliens, southern border. Those are just the ones we know about and then we cut. Forget about the ones that the gotaways, as we call them. We've got a word for it. And nobody even knows what those numbers are. And the Democrat Party and the news media, they don't care what those numbers are because they're not on our side. More than 785,000 illegal aliens. That is greater than the population of Washington, D.C. It is greater than the population of a number of American states. But in the fourth quarter of 2023, a number greater than the population of the Dakotas and beyond just walked into our country illegally, including people like the Venezuelan arrested at the Capitol with the machete and the giant butcher knife, but pay no attention to any of that. All right. Now let's go to a phone call. Let's go to Pete calling from Chicago, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Pete, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Okay, hang on a sec. Chris, I'm going to mute my radio.
Okay. Good policy. Thank you.
So, and I was saying it just kind of galls me that, especially someone like Mayorkas, they're violating their oath by not enforcing the laws, which, according to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, he swore to uphold. The laws of immigration and naturalization, that's the purview of the Congress, not the executive. So he's not going to enforce that, but yet he will criticize the governor of Texas, who's doing that job, which is part of his oath. Added to that, he's required by his oath to enforce the laws of Texas and protect the people of Texas. So when you have these people coming in, he has few options available to him. And he's not doing anything different, quite frankly, than what the federal government has been doing for how long now?
Right.
Surely over a year. And he may be putting them on a bus, but the feds are putting them on airplanes.
Right. Yeah, they're attacking Governor Abbott of Texas because he's putting people on buses. And good for Governor Abbott. He says that he's transported 95,000 illegal aliens to Democrat-run cities and states. And he said he's going to keep doing it to give them a taste of what it's like along the border. But Alejandro Mayorkas is attacking Governor Abbott, he's a Republican. He's on the side of the United States of America. The Democrat Party is on the side of Iran and the drug cartels in Mexico. White House accuses Republicans of exacerbating border crisis. The left-wing Hill reports out of Washington. Now, a group of 50 or 60 Republican members of Congress are headed to the border today. Democrats have no interest in it because they just want to attack Republicans. They're going to fire on Fort Sumter one of these days. I know they are. But the border visit is Republicans only because the Democrats don't give a flying hoot what's happening on our border. House GOP to begin 2024 with focus on border. And this has the news media angry with them. And the White House attacking Republicans, saying they're exacerbating the problem at the border by trying to draw attention to it and by sending a mere 95,000 out of, what do we have, more than 3 million in the last 3 years. 785,000 in the last 3 months of 2023, and they could care less. They yell at you and call you a racist and say you're exacerbating the problem if you point to it. And maybe that guy with the machete on Capitol Hill should just be let free on Capitol Hill again. What do you think? Crazy. Time to impeach Mayorkas and time to, step up the impeachment investigation into Biden, too. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Yes. The immigration organization FAIR, F-A-I-R, has the story, illegal aliens turn up in U.S. firearms database. This is crazy. 13.9 million times. The NICS system, the background check for buying firearms, just amazing. The index tallying 13.9 million unique prohibiting events involving illegal aliens, including arrests, convictions, commitments, mental institutions, indicates that illegally present migrants, illegal aliens, may not be as law-abiding as some studies may suggest. And, you're here illegally in the country, the story points out, and you get guns, you go and you buy guns. And the Democrats, the Republicans in the House, tried to make it law that if someone comes into a gun store, tries to buy a gun, they're denied because they're illegal aliens. Republicans wanted to have the gun stores notify immigration and customs enforcement, and the Democrats shot it down in the Senate. So it's not the law because Democrats want illegal aliens to buy guns without being found out, and they shot it down in the Senate. Amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party, you might think they're not on our side. I have mailbag today, too. And the Democrats, the Republicans are down at the border today, members of Congress, senators, House members down at the border today, and the media are attacking them for daring to visit the border and draw attention to it because the news media, would hit your grandmother in the back of the head with a shovel and bury her in a shallow grave outside of Las Vegas to, do the Democrats one more favor today. And Democrats are wrecking the place. It's the fundamental transformation of America that Barack Obama threatened and is now being carried out because Barack Obama's machine is really the president of the United States. Joe Biden isn't really the president of the United States, right? And I want to get back to that because there's a lot of crazy going on there. The illegal aliens. The story by fairus.org also has today. In Texas, illegal aliens have been charged with 6,112 weapons offenses since 2011. Just amazing. One of the more heinous offenses of late involved an illegal alien who gunned down 5 people, including a 9-year-old boy, in Cleveland, Texas, last April. That illegal alien, Francisco Opareza Perez Torres, had previously been deported 4 times. But there's an open border. So the machete-wielding illegal alien from Venezuela that was arrested on Capitol Hill the other day, they say will be deported. But there's an open border. We arrested, where was it, New Hampshire, the Brazilian who was convicted in Brazil of murdering 11 people and sentenced to more than 275 years in prison. He escaped, came to the United States, just walked in, no big deal. That crazy, another Brazilian in Pennsylvania murdered the woman, stabbing her like 40 times, I think in front of her kid, right? And then he was on the lam for a week or two with being hunted in the woods and stuff. Democrats want more of that. A vote for a Democrat is a vote for more of that. Try sanity. But let me get to the mailbag. And there's a lot of news out of the idiot mayor of Chicago and the crooks, the crooked Democrats. It's almost unbelievable how corrupt they are. Let me go to the mailbag, though. Let's go to the mailbag. It's Wednesday. It's mailbag day. David asks, how do you respond to your liberal friends who ask, when was America ever great? Well, truth is, my liberal friends don't ask that. I have friends that vote Democrat, and we have dinner, and for the most part, it's all fine. Some of them are struggling with this. Gosh, am I pro-Hamas now and anti-Israel? Even Jewish friends. Maybe I'm anti-Israel because the Democrat Party is so crazy. But, we've played audio over the years of Democrats like chanting in the streets, America was never great, and all this stuff.
America was never great! America was never great!
This is what the Democrat Party teaches, and this glassy-eyed zombie chant in the street stuff. Crazy.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
That was Governor Cuomo, the groper, gropey McGropeface Cuomo, who sexually assaults women, and he's in good standing with the Democrat Party. America was never that great.
Our current president targeted with a message saying that we could find greatness by just stopping the clock and turning it back and making America great again. When that past that he is promising to return us to was never as great as advertised.
They despise this country. And, the reality is they can't point to another country that's greater. There are countries where they go on vacation, but that's it. The reality is, in the end, what they've learned, and they may not even be aware of it themselves very often, they despise people. All people. Humanity is what they disdain. And that is what leads them to believe that the hobnailed boot of the state being on everyone's neck is the best possible outcome. That is their totalitarianism creeping to the surface. Nobody was that great. Now, what do I say? I say, well, first of all, right now, it's the greatest country in the world. People are risking their lives every day to come here. They're being raped. Their daughters are being raped. They have rape trees with women's underwear. People are being crushed under the wheels of trains. People are fleeing their homes, their family, their history to come to the United States of America because it is still, in spite of you Democrats, the greatest country on the face of the earth. The 20th century was known rightly as the American century, when the United States of America stood up, even though we really didn't want to go to Europe to put a lid on the Kaiser's boys in World War I. My grandfather, Patrick Henry Barnes, was one of those doughboys and a great American. My father was a Navy fighter pilot in World War II. We won World War II to smash the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, as it should rightly be known. We won the Cold War because the socialists in the Soviet Union, with the glories of socialism, everything's free. They murdered tens of millions of their own people and many millions beyond their own borders. And we contained them until they collapsed, although we did fight them in Korea and in Vietnam, where they were murdering people by the millions. And, you guys represent the Soviet Union and Communist China today. America is easily the greatest country, not only today, but thank God America was powerful enough in the 20th century to contain the spread of totalitarianism as we did. Otherwise, the planet would be one contiguous slave state. And by the way, the fight is still on in the 21st century as China angles to make the 21st century the China century, as the 20th century was the American century. And that would mean slavery, brutality, savagery, rifle butts to the teeth, harvesting your organs for the party. And honestly, ask the Uyghurs about it. And we still need to fight for freedom, not just for us, but for everyone around the world. Thank God, literally, for the United States of America. Jose Schmo asks, lefty mayors are crying about airplanes out of Texas with illegal aliens. Didn't the Biden administration do the same thing about 12 months ago? Well, the answer is yes. And they're doing it today. They're flying illegal aliens all over the country with our tax dollars and spreading them all over. In Chicago, they're moving them to the suburbs because they want to destroy everything that is good and everything that is nice. They don't lift people up, they drag people down. They're the left. And yes, the lefty mayors are crying about Chicago and New York and beyond. The racist mayor of New York, Eric Adams, said that the illegal aliens would destroy New York. That's his word, right? Destroy New York. But never mind that. And didn't they do the same? Yeah, but, Jose Schmo, were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. This is just another example of that. That's for sure. Yeah, they're going to continue to do it and then accuse you, Governor Greg Abbott, of being a terrible person. If you do what they're doing, but you send the people to them. Remember, I think they should all go to Martha's Vineyard. I think until Martha's Vineyard flips over, Hank Johnson style, we should send illegal aliens to Martha's Vineyard and to Nantucket. Carlos the dog asks, what is your favorite gun to carry, Chris? That ought to trigger the libs. Well, there are many fine concealed carry pistols, I've got to say. As you may have seen on our Twitter and our Facebook, I was out firing last week an H&K MP5, Heckler & Koch MP5. It was the K model, the latest model, 9mm, fully automatic weapon belonging to a friend of mine, not my weapon. Was also firing an Uzi that day, 9mm full auto Uzi, belonging to a friend of mine who I will graciously leave out of the conversation right now. But I have a Ruger LC9 9mm, which is a very easy to carry, compact, streamlined pistol, an excellent one. I think also the Glock 43X, a 9mm single stack, 10 round, updated from the old 6-round Glock 43. Excellent concealed carry choice, excellent. And good old reliable Nathan Detroit. And good old reliable Glock. No doubt about that. And J. Radford 61, also known as John from Macon, Georgia. Why are the Democrats in a constant state of rage and violence at all times? Why so angry? Well, John from Macon, I think there's an epidemic of mental illness in the United States, and the Democrats are actually fanning the flames of mental illness and fueling the fire of mental illness. And the short answer, I think, John, is that the Democrats, the Democratic Party isn't. They're not Democratic. And they're not liberals. They're the left. And the left is violent. Always has been. Let's just start with the Bolshevik Revolution in St. Petersburg. The left is violent. They want to dominate, and you have to destroy a lot in order to do that. They've murdered 100 million people. In the 20th century alone, they murdered 100 million people, and they are not done. They're coming back for more.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. And unfortunately, there's plenty to go around.
Yeah, unrest in their lives. These are the people that raise mentally ill children, and the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon, and gender is a fluid proposition. And the left teaches all sorts of just factually incorrect, demonstrably false lessons to generations of children. And that's why they've taken over our school system. As Vladimir Lenin said, give me a child for 10 years and I'll give you a Bolshevik for life. The left is here to suck the lifeblood out of capitalism, out of freedom-loving countries, the most important of which is the United States. The left set their sights on the United States generations ago. They've never had the kind of position and opportunity in the past that they have now to inflict damage.
And I asked her how that made her feel, and she said it made her feel angry.
Angry. Why was she angry, Michael? What made her feel angry? I think it must be the weather.
The earth is on fire, and we're all going to die soon.
Right. That's what she teaches her children. Democrat Congresswoman Katie Porter from California. Her 9-year-old daughter said the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. Now, that woman should have social services come and take her children away from her. The Congresswoman should not be allowed to raise children. And they're mad. Honestly, the Democrats, a constant state of rage and violent all the time. The crime, who do you think's committing all the crimes? Who do you think is looting all the stores? They've normalized looting. They've normalized street violence, political mob violence. And then they're shocked to see it on January 6th, which we call Ashley Babbitt Day, and is the anniversary of which is coming up this weekend, when it's supposed to snow maybe, which happens in January in the Northeast, but they're already in a panic about it, and it's already climate change. And that's just a small slice of the mental illness of the Democrat Party, honestly. All right, let me see. Boop, boop, boo. Let's go to a quick phone call. Let's go to Mary calling from Chicago, Illinois, and WLS. Mary, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Dear Chris, you are so wonderful. And you just make sanity possible in this day and age. I swear to God. But anyway, yes, you mentioned, and I called about the fact that they are moving the unannounced to Hinsdale, Illinois. I don't know if you're familiar.
Sure, of course.
Hinsdale, but it's in the range of like Flossmoor. And it's a higher bracket, pleasant, beautiful town.
Right.
And that's intentional to move these illegal aliens into the suburbs, in particularly the beautiful suburbs,
right,
to ruin them.
Right.
And it's like a plot from the Obama people. And he's got a vengeance towards the suburbs, but there have been some conservative books written about this, that the suburbs, they're out to ruin the suburbs, and people who are, like I said, a pleasant, normal place, and ruin it.
Yeah.
They're just out to destroy America.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know what the heck we're going to do about it.
You're right, Mary.
What do you think of it?
Well, let me tell you, I was reading about it this morning. And Woodstock, Illinois, the Democrats are moving illegal aliens to Woodstock, Illinois, well outside of Chicago proper. And they've got thousands and thousands of illegal aliens. The mayor of Woodstock, Illinois, Michael Turner, is not amused about this. And there are other mayors around Chicago of communities outside of Chicago who are sounding the alarm, and our corrupt news media is so filthy that they don't even report on it. They could care less, and the Democrats, you're absolutely right, are planning on targeting the suburbs. They're targeting the nicest neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., and forcing apartment buildings to take junkies, drug addicts, recently released convicts, and so on. And all the while, the mayor of Chicago, who is also a mental case and a defund the police lunatic, is declaring, National Review has the story, Chicago's mayor says reparations will reduce the crime rate. Reparations. George Leff, writing in National Review, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, this is a gun to the head of white people. Give me your money. I'll hand it over to black people, and then you won't be victims of crime. It's a shakedown. It's a racket. These people are corrupt as hell. They're criminals, and they don't like our country at all. Mary, you're on to them. We've got to vote. We've got to vote these lunatics out of power. We are now officially in an election year. And we've got to organize and vote, the early ballots. And the Democrats are still planning on stealing it with their mail-out ballots and 90 days of early voting. And there was an elected official in D.C. was nabbed a few weeks ago for voting in Maryland and D.C. in the last election. She said, I didn't know you couldn't do that. Well, then you fail the IQ test. You can never vote again. Now, cringe on Pierre. They're attacking Republicans for daring to send illegal aliens to Democrat cities. They're going to fire on Fort Sumter.
The busing of migrants, the putting them on flights, it is shameful that that is occurring. And instead of, if the governor really, truly wants to deal with this issue, he should talk to the senators in his states. We've been in touch with some of those mayors that you talked about, governors in northern part of the country,
New York,
on dealing with the issue that they're dealing with on the ground. And we have provided us resources to them, and we're going to continue to have those conversations. But again, Congress needs to act. The president took this very seriously on day one.
That is the biggest lie she's ever told, and that's almost impossible. There is a Republican congressman, Mark Molinaro, and he's down at the border. He's with a group of Republican members of Congress who are down there trying to get something done.
The truth is, they're not given the resources. The president has ignored the crisis. And as you know, and you all have reported, and we've seen record number of encounters this last month, 780 plus thousand, 2.4 million in the last year. I mean, it is true utter chaos. And the president continues to ignore what is a national and humanitarian crisis at our southern border.
Yeah, they don't really care about national, it's the United States. They're not on our side. They're not on Team America at all. Republicans are down there. They're going to try to draw attention. The news media will attack the Republicans because the news media is the Democrat Party in another form. We're being told there will be snow in the Northeast this weekend. I love a good snowstorm. Brings Washington to its knees. It's the best thing.